Hello and welcome to Write Your Book, Grow Your Business. I'm Mary Knipple, the book mentor, and I am here to offer some encouragement and to give you some tips about how do you get started writing that book and how do I keep going? One of the things that people have asked me is just like, "Ah, I don't know the first thing about where would I start?" I've keeping a journal since I was 11. I know that things come up that you want to record, and maybe 11-year-old didn't necessarily have something that the world wanted to know, but there were things that were important to me. And if you start keeping a journal, if you take a pen and any kind of a notebook and start writing for at least 15 minutes every day, you would be surprised at what you get as a download and how that when you know your story, who you are, what makes you tick, what's important to you, that you will get a download of what is important, that is your story to share with the world. I am firmly committed to the notion that every one of us has a story, has a message that is vital to the world, that we have learned a lesson, we've lived through something, we've coped with something, and that knowledge, that wisdom is what we are designed to share with the rest of the world. And I always tell the story of just think about a beautiful tapestry and how all of the threads in that tapestry make up a fabulous, amazing, wonderful tableau. There's a picture there. And if some of those threads are missing, then the world doesn't see the full picture. So think about your story as the, those threads, your part of the threads that go into the universal story. And if your threads are missing, that the story won't be complete. The picture won't be complete. And people will ask me, well, what part of my story is relevant to the world? Well, we don't know unless we start sharing our story. I will give an example of, you can start with a statistic that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. In my case, it's happened 3 times, so there must be more of a statistic there. But there's also a way for other women and men to lean in and it's like, "Oh, I have a cancer story too. How can I talk about that as a way to connect with who needs to find me, whether personally or professionally?" That this is a way for you to contribute to the dialogue that's going on in the world, that you make the personal connection. And when people are talking about their personal stories, they shy away from, well, I'm in business. I'm not going to talk about my personal stuff, but the fact is that is what makes you who you are. It's part of you. So helping your clients and customers get to know who you are as a person helps them understand where you're coming from, why you do what you do. That's vital for us to know our why. So when people ask, who cares about my story? First of all, you should care about your story. You should know your story. And that's where you start. And that's part of keeping a journal makes so much sense. Is that our story changes from day to day. How we're coping with the world, what the world is presenting to us every day changes. And having documentation, chronicling, writing down, recording what's going on, how we're feeling about it, what we're doing about it, what we've learned, and what we're going to take away from that, how we're going to make a difference with what we've learned, who we're going to influence with what we've learned. I I have people say, I don't know how I can sustain this, how I could write a whole book. Well, don't think about writing a whole book when you sit down for your 15 minutes. Think about what you're going to learn about yourself in those 15 minutes. And after a while, you'll glean a message that's yours to share with the world. And it will become clear that I talk about one aspect of my message and help my reader, my listener, um, be invited into that part of the story. And as daunting as it sounds, I'm going to write a book someday. Someday doesn't happen unless you start with the 15 minutes a day. Someday doesn't happen until you make the commitment that I'm going to show up on the page. I'm going to being open to what's next, being open to listening to the message that you're hearing from that the little voice that urges you on to this is why you're here. This is the gift that you are here to give to the world. And I realize that we can have other little voices in our head that say, who do you think you are? Who do you think is going to care? Well, I guarantee that there's somebody that's waiting to hear your story that needs to hear your story. So when those little voices come up, and I know they do, they happen to everybody. One of my mentors, Maya Angelou, would talk about when she'd pick up her pen to sit down with her yellow legal pad and write the next thing, she'd go, "Oh, they're gonna find out now. They're gonna know that I don't know how to write, that I don't know what I'm talking about." And just think about what a gift she left her with her legacy of all of her writing. And if she had stopped when that voice showed up, we wouldn't have that legacy. So give that voice a job. Tell them to go work on the grocery list. Tell them to dust dust the living room. Tell them to go, finish that report. But leave you alone to write the story that you're supposed to write at this moment. And eventually, you'll have enough written that it's a whole book. And if you're afraid of, oh, I don't know if I can write a whole book, you show up at the page and you decide that you're going to take part in a co author book where you write a piece of the book and you're writing in community. You all have a message that is is in synchronicity. It's has the same theme of the message. They're in alignment with the message that you personally have. My my message is that your story matters and no one can tell your story from your perspective except you. Just think about it. You're the only one that is in your body, knows how you feel, and knows the impact, whatever your life situation, whatever the life challenge has been on you. And you may have seen me tearing up. I know that I'm getting to the heart of what I wanted to say to you because I get emotional talking about how your story matters, my story matters, because there are unique stories. We have this divine message for the world, and we have an obligation to share it because somebody needs to hear from us. Somebody needs what we have to say, and their life won't be the same unless they've heard what we have gained from our life experiences, that wisdom. We pass on that wisdom of how we show up, why we do what we do, and what keeps us doing what we're doing. So, the biggest thing I want you to take away from this is that your story matters. No one can tell your story from your perspective except you. And for more writing tips, I urge you to go to yourwritingmentor.com and sign up to receive writing tips from me, read my blog, and learn about my story, my stories, because I do connect what's going on with the world and my experiences in the world with how you can draw from what's going on in your world and how you are making an impact with your brilliance and the wisdom that you have learned from those experiences, how you've coped and how you show up to be the writer that you are, to write the book that's going to grow your business, that's going to leave a legacy for those who come after you so that they can know you and know who you were and the story that you have left for them. I'm Mary Knipple, the book mentor. Come visit me at yourwritingmentor.com. Thank you.